red flags in women and how to set boundaries. Today we have a little bit of cigar talk, so we'll address a couple of red flags that you urgently need to be aware of, and we'll also touch on the subject of boundaries and see where the conversation goes. So most importantly, you have to understand that you'll only be able to detect red flags if you actually know what you're looking for. So first you have to write down your must-haves, your nice-to-haves, and your deal breakers. That's where it starts. Because you have to have a couple of individual deal breakers. But there's also, in addition to that, then some universal red flags. So the first one, I would say, is easily offended. Somebody via text, perhaps, or in person, misinterpreting what you say in a negative way. You want to share a couple of thoughts around that? Because some women, by default, are much more likely to interpret what you say in a positive way. And some, they're just going to argue and will take offense for no reason. And men do that too, by the way. This is not a gender argument. Some men are like that too, and those you should also avoid.
Well, I think it's important to start off with knowing thyself. So for me, I can just talk about myself. I think that a woman, and by the way, other people talk about this too, like Jordan Peterson talks about this, about disagreeableness being a trait that you find mostly in men. And so I don't, like, personally, I don't want to be around a woman who's disagreeable all the time. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want a girl that's more like, soft, and she's more like, and then when you tell that to women, they're like, oh, so you just want like
Yes man.
yes man, yes woman. You just want a slave to boss around. No, that's not what I said at all.
No.
What I said was, I want someone who's got a more easygoing and agreeable personality type. Like when you look at the personality types, you don't want somebody, at least I can only speak for myself, right? Like, I don't want somebody who just disagrees with everything I say. How are we going to cooperate? How are we going to go further, in life together if she's just arguing with me over every little thing? So that's instantly, if you say red flags, like if she's always questioning you, and not questioning you in like, not in like a Socratic way. I'm not talking about like questioning you like to kind of get to a better conclusion. But if she's always trying to argue with you all the time, I don't know. For me, I just find that pretty unattractive.
Yeah, it's not fun. So that's one. And then the other one that you need to be aware of is guilt. Men do that too. And women also. They like to manipulate you and steer your behavior by first evoking the emotion of guilt in you. And if you're a good, kind-hearted man, then the last thing you want to do is you want to make a woman feel bad. And if you have a propensity to feel guilty quickly, they'll use it. For example, you say you want to go out with the boys. You want to go train. You're going to go on a business trip. And she'll say, okay, I'm just going to be here at home, all alone, by myself. Meh. That's very passive-aggressive. And you can say, yeah, but she's just feminine. Fair enough, in a way. All women are going to be feminine to an extent. Going with the emotions, just expressing how they're feeling. It's perfectly fine, legit. But be aware of how people are trying to evoke certain emotions of guilt within you. Got a couple of thoughts on guilt?
Yeah, and actually, while you were saying that, I started thinking about, these are only the feminine, you don't spend enough time with me type of women, right? So you have those type of women, but you also have the type of women that are like, I'm going out with the girls. So it can be bad either. Like it really is a fine line, right? You don't want. So you're talking about a situation where she's at home and you want to go out with the guys. There's also the opposite situation of that where she's leaving you at home.
Now that would be another different red flag, but absolutely, yeah.
Different red flag.
Because you also don't want somebody who's going to go out and party every single weekend, most likely.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So it has to be the person that, you find suits your life. But I think the problem with most guys, and you can probably speak on this way more than I can, because of the coaching and because of being in that space for so long, but a lot of guys are just whatever. Like they're just like they'll settle for whatever. They don't have it in their head. They don't have a definition of what they can accept, what's nice to have, and what they won't accept or tolerate whatsoever. I think that's a big problem, because
Talk on boundaries. Most guys have no boundaries at all.
so if you don't have boundaries as a guy, then you're just gonna settle for looks. You're gonna see, this is the thing that guys do, and we are visual creatures for the most part. We look at a woman and we're looking for attractiveness. What guys don't think about though is how a woman's thinking impacts his life. So if you have this beautiful, beautiful 10 out of 10 woman with you at all times, and she's constantly like, giving you guilt, for example, like if you say about the guilt situation, or she's giving you, if she's
disagreeableness, conflict, negativity.
If she just operates on bad logic, bro, if she operates on bad logic, then that's going to be contagious to you. That's just something that you need to have a boundary around. You're just like, wait, no, hold on a second. I see reality pretty clearly for what it is. Now, that's assuming you do. Not everybody does.
People who are watching this, they do.
Yeah, the people in the audience that are in your audience, for the most part, business owners, doctors, lawyers, people who have good careers, people who have succeeded in one area. Because here's the thing, if you've succeeded in something, especially in business, especially in money, if you've succeeded in this vertical, then you know the rules of the game. You know how to operate on good logic. Now you bring that logic into this relationship side, that's when things get messed up. I know you want me to talk on boundaries, but this is actually, this is something that I've actually realized quite a lot. That successful men, here's where they fail with women. They bring the same person that they are in their business and in their work life into their relationship life, and it's not the same. Like, you need to be able to switch modes. You need to be able to be that work business, logic mode, and you need the emotional side mode. But the boundaries that you set here, you need to still bring them over here. So if you want me to talk about boundaries, here's what I'll say. It comes down to, what type of life are you trying to build? What kind of family, what kind of dinner do you want to have at home? At 6 o'clock, you're having dinner with your family. Let's say you go 5 years into the future. You have your wife. You have a small child there. What kind of conversations do you want to be having at that dinner table? That's the question. And so men don't think about that. They just think, oh, she's very beautiful. You try to seduce her. Yeah, but okay. What then? Like, what next?
Because at some point, no matter how beautiful she is, you're going to get used to her beauty.
Yeah.
And then what's left is character, personality, and values.
Yep. And beauty is a depreciating asset. It's going down over time. So, what's going to remain and what's going to keep the relationship going is if you have a strong foundation for the relationship. And the only way you're going to have a strong foundation is if you define what you want beyond physicality in the first place, and that's setting your boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. And being able to set boundaries requires you to come from abundance. Because if you haven't eaten in 2 weeks and then somebody dangles a steak in front of you, it's very difficult for you to set a boundary towards that steak. Oh, the steak is not perfectly cooked. You won't care at all. So if you only have a date a month, how on earth are you supposed to be able to set a boundary? So first, get abundance. Yeah. Get more quality dates. Have a lot of dates. It'll be very easy for you to set boundaries. Now, what do you do if you don't have that many dates yet? Do both. Act as if you already had that many options available to yourself, and then you will get them. Act as if, maintain the standard. Set a gold standard that you're under no circumstances willing to fall below. Because the number one criteria for attraction is respect. If she's supposed to stay attracted to you, she has to respect you. And she can't respect you if you don't respect yourself. Women will reward you for certain things in the short term that they will punish you for in the long term. For example, you disrespecting yourself. If you set a boundary, say, hey, I don't like that. Please don't do that anymore. Respectfully, warm, loving, but very clear, firm, yet gentle. In the moment, there may be a little bit of friction, but she'll actually respect you and she'll reward you for it in the long term. In the short term, she may reward you for not setting boundaries, letting her walk all over you, walking on eggshells, being too agreeable, not being assertive enough. She may reward you for that in the short term, but in the long term, she'll lose respect for you.
And I think, you know what, David, I think for us, I'm just thinking about the audience now as we have this discussion, is that for us, it comes so naturally, because even if I had a 10 out of 10 woman and she crosses a boundary, it doesn't matter how good looking she is, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And most guys aren't willing to do that. So you need to know yourself. You need to know, okay, if she did this, if she said this, if she made this joke about this, and I told her, hey girl, listen, that's not cool, and she did it again, are you willing to walk away? If you're not, then that's a personal issue. So I think that for us, like I said, it's very natural, because we know that if somebody crosses a boundary, not just a woman, but anybody, if somebody crosses a boundary, then we don't need them. We don't need that person. We can walk away and we can just leave it at that. But not everybody has that abundance mindset, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. You can only have the type of woman you're willing to lose. You can only keep the type of woman you're able to replace. She'll feel that. It sounds horrible, but it's actually true. It's actually a beautiful fact of life that there are so many beautiful people in the world that you can theoretically replace anybody. Yeah. So if she keeps crossing your boundaries, what is that going to do to your self-esteem? It's going to start chipping away at your self-esteem more and more until it's not going to happen from today to tomorrow. But 4 years down the line, you're a shell of yourself, and you'll compensate with alcohol and other, and you will be a shell of yourself, and you'll wonder, what happened to me? It happened to me with my ex-wife, and she's not even a bad person. Look, it was just a lack of compatibility, but me not standing up for my needs, me not communicating my needs, me being in a relationship. He was there. He was the best man at the wedding.
I was there. And you know what? Tell them how I told you.
Yeah, you tell them.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll tell them. Because I remember this day vividly. Okay, so here's what happened. We went to the gym together. It was right before he was getting married.
A couple of months before. Yeah.
So he's going into one shower, I'm going into the other, right? And I remember distinctly, exactly verbatim what I said was, I said, David. He said, yeah. I said, I'm only going to ask you this one time, as I shout this from the other shower. And I said, I'm only going to ask you this one time. Do you really think it's a good idea to be getting married to her? And what did you say to me?
Yeah, it's fine. Let's not talk about it.
And you know what he was doing at that point, what you later explained to me, is that I was just in fear. I just didn't want to lose her. I just thought there's no option for the position that I'm at right now. It's either marry her or I lose her.
And it was unconscious. It was an unconscious situation. I was coming from fear. I was avoiding the situation. I was avoiding the conversation. Whenever there's something you're not even willing to talk about, there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Okay. Yeah. And then I suffered tremendously for a year and a half.
Yeah, but isn't it funny that we both still remember that exact moment?
I remember that moment. I exactly know the green doors.
Yeah.
In the gym, in the shower.
Yeah. And you know what? It probably, like, while you were in the relationship, I would say that moment replayed in your head, in your unconscious, like in your dreams, in your, like, you know, in the part of you that knows, like, I know what I answered to Barbara wasn't the truth.
No, it wasn't.
I know I didn't say the truth there. And so that's why I said, know yourself and know your truth. And then also, what I will mention is that it might seem foreign to you right now, the ideas that we're talking about, the things that we're talking about not needing them. Because the way, when I look around, when I look outside my window, what I see is guys who are just drooling in a state of lust. That's why there's such thing as an OnlyFans. That's why there's such thing as these Instagram models with hundreds of thousands of followers in her DMs, sending her stupid ass messages. I mean, I've been with those women and they've literally showed me the DMs. So it's like, it's one of those things where you kind of look at it and you go, oh, I get it. These guys just don't get it. They just don't understand what they don't understand. It's like a physical thing. But beyond the physicality, just understand, just like you, everybody is flawed. She's flawed. She's flawed. And what you don't want is to end up with a woman whose deep flaws end up ruining your life. So it's a very, like, meta subject. I mean, that, like, about becoming, it's about who you're becoming. The whole subject. And this is the great thing about what you do is, like, you literally get to witness men transform into a completely different version of themselves.
Yes.
And then because here's the thing that people always want, right? People always ask these kind of things. What's the line? What's the line?
What's the opening line?
What's the opening line? What do I say to her? It's like, bro, it's not about what you say to her. It's who you are.
And let's specify what who you are means. Who you are means confidence, communication, and your understanding of dynamics. Yeah, go. It's your understanding of dynamics. It's your confidence, your energy, your vibe, as well as your communication skills. That's who you are. You don't have to change your values. You don't have to change what makes you you at a core, the beautiful aspects. If anything, go harder on those. More of that, please. More. It's about carving away what doesn't belong. This whole idea of Michelangelo seeing the David in the block of marble, and he just chipped away, he just carved away what didn't belong. And then what's left is who you're supposed to be. Now, you do gotta add a skill set. You do have to add the skill set of creating attraction, being witty, being entertaining, creating a man-to-woman connection. Apply for a free initial consultation if you want us to help you with that personally. Absolutely. Click that button. Apply. It will change your life. But regardless, you need to commit yourself to that process. And you can only, as I said earlier, keep an amazing woman who's physically attractive, who is educated, and who's got a compatible personality with you and who has similar values to you around if you're willing to lose her. You have to be totally okay with losing her. Now, am I super willing to lose Fernanda right now? No, I don't want to lose Fernanda at all. Absolutely not. Why would I want that? Obviously, I don't want to lose her. But I'd be willing to lose her for the right reasons. In other words, if she decided to walk away, cool, no problem. No issue. I don't want to lose her because I do something stupid. And that's a good fear to have. Do I want to lose him? No, obviously not. But you won't lose the right person if you're compatible, if it's meant to be, if you create attraction. You gotta assume the responsibility for communicating in a way that creates that level of attraction. But ultimately, when it comes to setting boundaries, recognizing red flags, and yes, there's more, and we've covered them in other videos as well, it comes down to a base understanding of actual abundance. And when you're coming from that place, even if you don't have it factually yet, you just assume the mental model of abundance, you reaffirm it, and then you also get approach. You got to get factual abundance. You can get it in a couple of weeks, right? In a couple of weeks, in a month or two, really simply. For some, it's a bit more, for some, it's a bit less. If you do that, then you start adding the component of speaking your truth. And if you become radically honest, you'll filter out 9 out of 10 people. You realize 9 out of 10 people really aren't right for me. Most people aren't loyal. They don't understand loyalty at all. But let me tell you something. You'd rather have a couple of really, really, really strong friendships and like one amazing relationship to a woman than really superficial, lukewarm relationships. Most men have lukewarm relationships. They're trying to get along with everybody. Maybe you want to speak on that for a moment.
Yeah, but before I do, I think that as soon as I walk back in, you were talking about being willing to lose Fernanda and being willing to walk away from any relationship, no matter what. I think it's about compatibility, yes, but also the fact that you are willing to walk away. People can feel that. People know, okay, like this guy, he doesn't need me. That comes across in all your forms of communication. The way you text her. Some guys, they're just like 7 texts in a row. And then the funny thing about it is like, the girl wants to be that. Like, she won't say that, but she wants to be the one who's needy for you, who's chasing you, who's sending, yeah. And I, personally, I like when I look at my phone and I have like 7 texts from a girl. If I'm pursuing that, if I'm doing something with a girl, like, and then I'll reply with like 1 line or something, and she'll be like, "Oh my God, you can't believe you," and
it makes her feel alive to be in that position.
But most guys have never even experienced that.
Never.
They don't know how to create that. That's a creation. That's something you create. Yeah. It's the good thing about that is that you can literally learn the skill. It's not something that you're born with. It's something you develop over time. And then when you get the abundance mindset, when you set your boundaries, when you define your good to haves, nice haves, whatever, must haves. Yeah, the way he says it, I'm not a dating coach, I'm just a sales guy. But what I'll say is, once you have that defined, then you go out in the world with a different way of being, of carrying yourself. And when you meet a girl, you instantly, now you're qualifying her. Now you're trying to figure out, she ticks the looks box. Because obviously you wouldn't approach her in the first place if she didn't tick that box. Great. Now, does she tick all of my other boxes? Does she have a relatively high IQ that she can match mine? Or am I going to be running into IQ problems here? Does she have good emotional intelligence? Does she make me feel good? To be honest, a lot of your feelings, your internal gut feeling, you should trust it. I mean, that's the thing that feelings are very real things. And if somebody makes you feel bad, that's a sign, should be a sign that's like, whoa, okay, maybe it's not the right person.
Because your unconscious mind is picking up on signals the conscious mind can't pick up on. But they're there.
Yeah. And then the question becomes, okay, on your quest to find the right girlfriend or life partner, I'm gonna be kissing a few frogs to find my princess. I'm gonna be meeting girls. I'm gonna be going on dates. Okay, yeah, she was good in these ways, but it doesn't feel right. And you won't settle, because here's the thing that most people do, like almost everybody, statistically, this is why the divorce rates are so high, is that people settle. And most men settle.
And they lie to themselves. They don't think they did, but they actually do. Yeah. Oh yeah, but my friend Martin is in a relationship.
Yeah.
Is he actually in a relationship with a woman he's physically attracted to? IQ? Do they have the same values? Are their personalities really compatible? And there's no perfect relationship. That's not what we're talking about. But imagine a 4 out of 10 level compatibility on all those 3 pillars that we mentioned before, or a 9 out of 10 level compatibility. That's different. You'll never get perfect, but you can get really high. That makes a big difference. Are you going to settle or not? And 80% of my job is actually keeping my clients out of the wrong relationships. It's not just about slapping another testimonial on the website. By the way, visit my website and look at these testimonials. We got a bunch of them. But I'm trying to keep them out of the relationships, out of the wrong ones.
Yeah. And I think that, overall, I think that we're coming to the end of this video, right? Mm-hmm. So just to close off on this, and from my side anyway, what I'll say is you really need to be good with being by yourself. Because if you're good with being by yourself, then it's almost like that steak analogy you gave, right? Like a hungry guy who sees a steak after 2 weeks of not eating, he's going to be salivating for that steak. That's how most guys walk around in the world. Horny dogs. So, so what you want to be is a guy that doesn't need the woman, but wants her. And that's a different frame. That's a different outlook on life. It's like, yeah, okay, she ticked the looks box. She's a beautiful. And by the way, this happens to me as well. It's like I meet girls and they tick the looks box. They have they have certain qualities that are just like not compatible with me. And then I'm like, I have to kind of bite the bullet and say, you know what? Great genetics, great, everything, outward appearance. But I can see where this path leads. I can see the car crash I'm about to be in if I go with this girl. So I'd rather avoid it. And the only way I can do that is by having developed myself, having worked on my communication skills, and getting to the point where what David's talking about, where you have boundaries, where you have, you're defined. What is it exactly that I'm looking for? Because if you don't define what you're looking for, it's like going to the airport without a destination. And the next thing you know, you buy a ticket and you end up in Africa and you're like, I didn't want to be in Africa, but that's where you're going to end up in your relationship, per se. That's my take on it. That first, like to keep it really simple, that you need to be good by yourself. That you develop yourself as a man, you develop your communication skills, you define exactly what you're looking for, and then you go out with full force to go and find it in the world. And then there's going to be a lot of trial and error, in the fact that you'll meet a girl, she won't be the right one for you. You have to,
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be the first woman that you're going to go on dates with that'll be your wife. It's just not going to happen. It shouldn't be, at least.
Yeah. And that whole journey of going out and finding the woman, that in and of itself is a beautiful thing, because, you know, when you do finally end up finding the right one, then you say, look at what I had to go through to get you.
Yeah.
Look at what I had to go through to get you.
Yeah.
Look at how many different women I had to speak with, how many women I had to go on dates with, how much work I had to do to get you. So then, you know, it's like it's a romantic thing. It's an appreciation thing. There's a journey. There's a story there. You know, there's a lot.
And multiple sub stories. So many adventures along the way.
Yeah, and then it's like, at the end of the day, the story is about who you become.
And then you'll truly be able to keep her around.
Yeah.
Because I jumped into the relationship with my ex-wife coming from scarcity. And that's why I suffered. And that's why I crashed. Because we weren't right for one another. She did the same thing. She didn't screen for compatibility either. I didn't either, right? We both didn't communicate that properly. So for you to not go through that pain and waste the next 5, 10, 15 years of your life, apply for a free initial consultation.
Yeah. And then I'll just say this, because you won't say it because you're too humble or whatever. But this guy literally has the perfect story. If you think about it, right? He had a wife. I was there. I was the best man at the wedding. I was literally there watching him make the mistake. I was like, oh no, he's doing the thing. And I couldn't even tell him. Like, I tried to tell him one time, and I was like, okay, that's it. Because
I wouldn't listen.
Here's the thing, because people don't listen. People are not going to argue with their own logic.
Yeah.
And anyways, most of the decisions are not logical. If you're a man, you think you're logical. Trust me, bro, you're not logical. You're emotional as well as logical. You have some logic, but you're also acting on your feeling states and all that kind of stuff. So the point is, what I was saying about David is, like, I was at the best man at his wedding, watching him make the mistake. I was like, oh no, he's making the mistake, and and then he did it, and then he was in the relationship, and he was like,
miserable.
He was having panic attacks. In the middle of the night, he'd wake up with anxiety because of the fact that he was in a relationship feeling suffocated. It's almost like your air was being taken away, like from the way that you described it to me.
It was like
and then he basically worked his way out of that, then, you know, found a mentor, got into, you know, being personal development, getting himself into, you know, being able to communicate better with women and that kind of thing. And then went through the exact journey that we're talking about of having to go kiss a bunch of frogs. And then he finally found his princess, Fernanda. So it's like the exact thing that we've just covered in this video is what you've actually done. So who better to teach you than a guy who's actually done it?
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Boom. Okay, guys, time to go. That was a great video. See you guys in the next one. See you guys behind the paywall.